Here's the Blakemore tube in less than 5. Buckle up. There's 3 ports, one for blowing up the stomach balloon, one for the esophagus balloon, and one for suctioning the stomach. There are suction holes for the stomach, no suction holes for the esophagus, and 2 balloons, one for the stomach and one for the esophagus. You also need an OG tube, a 50cc syringe, Kelly clamps with tape on the edges, 2 3-way stopcocks, 4 dual lure lock caps, lubricating jelly, a manometer, and I recommend the Posey cufflator because it fits onto the 3-way stopcock and it insufflates, and your respiratory therapist has one. Just call RT. A Christmas tree, a Sharpie pen, a traction device, and we're going to use Curlix and a liter bag of saline, and a bucket of water. Insert 1 3-way stopcock in the gastric balloon port, and then you're going to take a second 3-way stopcock and insert it in the esophageal balloon port, and these should fit pretty snugly. Now take your OG tube and line it up so the tip is just above the gastric balloon, and at the 50 centimeter mark on the Blakemore tube, you're going to label the OG with a G. Now line it up so the tip of the OG tube is just above the esophagus balloon, and do the same thing. At the 50 centimeter mark on the Blakemore tube, you're going to label this with an E on your OG tube, and this will make sense in a minute, I promise. Now we're going to test to make sure our balloons don't leak. So take your 50cc syringe, connect it to the esophagus balloon port, and we're going to dunk it in some water, inject some air, and make sure we don't see any bubbles coming up. Once that looks good, we're going to deflate it, and we're going to test the gastric balloon. We're going to use the same sophisticated technology for testing the gastric balloon, so stay with me on this one, and I think you'll get it. Dunk it in some water, inject some air, and check for air bubbles. All right, moving on. Deflate that balloon all the way, and now we're going to get ready to insert this thing. Get some water-based lubrication and lubricate the tube and balloons. And insert it just like an OG tube. Technically, you can go through the nose, but I think the mouth is easier. Insert it all the way, and now we want to test to make sure that it is in the stomach, not the esophagus. So inject 50 cc's of air and get an X-ray. Make sure the air bubble is below the diaphragm, and now it's safe to continue. The Blakemore tube holds 250 cc's of air. 250 cc's, that's 4 more pushes from your 50 cc syringe. Now turn it off, and you can place 2 caps on your stopcock. And now we're going to set up traction. So we are going to use our liter bag of saline and our Curlix. You're just going to tie a basic run-of-the-mill slip knot around your Blakemore tube on this end. And with the free ends, you're going to grab your liter bag of saline and just push those free ends through the hole on the top of the bag. And you can just tie a regular run-of-the-mill knot here as well. Now you can hang this up over an IV pole, and this pulls 1 kilogram of traction. No football helmet required. Now we're going to connect suction to the gastric port and suction out all of the contents of the stomach. And now you're going to insert the OG tube so that the G that we marked on the OG tube lines up with the 50 centimeter mark on the Blakemore. Now we know the tip of the OG is just above the stomach balloon. Now clamp the gastric suction port and move the suction tube from the gastric aspiration to the OG tube. We're going to check to see if we have residual bleeding in the esophagus. If there's still lots of blood, that means we need to inflate the esophagus balloon. So pull the OG back till the E lines up with the 50, and now the tip of the OG tube is just above where the esophageal balloon will be. Grab your cufflator manometer, and we are going to connect this to the 3-way stopcock on the esophageal balloon port. Place another cap on the 3-way stopcock and grab your manometer. Remember, inflating the esophagus balloon is all about pressure, not volume. So connect the manometer here, and when you squeeze the bottom of the cufflator, it inflates air into the esophagus. The goal is 30 millimeters of mercury. You can go up to 45 if you're not getting adequate tamponade. Once you're at 30, close the stopcock so it's turned to off. Remove the manometer, and you can place a cap on this remaining open port. And that's the Blakemore in under 5.